Sure, it was really an honor to be here today. You know, as an American and a New Yorker and a Jew, that deep and abiding value of religious liberty at the heart of the country is enormous. Is grateful for it every day, and to have people stand together and remind us, kind of call us to our best selves, call us to that our most and deepest American principles at this time when they're sorely needed was an opportunity that I was thrilled to meet.
Teddy, the Associate Director with PANYS New York.
Hi, I'm Paul Newell. I'm the District Leader for Lower Manhattan.
We're here today in Common Cause, especially got involved. We're a nonpartisan advocacy organization, and we got involved in this issue because we feel firmly that this is how we are going to redefine ourselves, or actually define ourselves as American, stand up for American values, for religious freedom. This is an emotional time, an emotional issue for a lot of people, but we don't think the Downtown Islamic Cultural Center should somehow be brought up and politicized and used in sound bites by elected officials that are not even from New York City. We ask and we thank all the elected officials, including Mayor Bloomberg, that have stood with us through this. And we thank groups like Peace Action New York for coming out here today and joining us. So thank you.
Downtown residents know more about the threat of terrorism and violence than I think any community in America. And we also know how a tradition of tolerance and reaching out to people makes a community thrive, both economically and culturally, and that this city and this country are founded on that, and that's why we've always succeeded. In our neighborhood, we've had Imam Faisal Rauf as our neighbor for coming on 30 years now. He's always been a constructive part of our community, and he's always decried violence and intolerance, and we need to stand up for our neighbors. That's why I'm here.
Some of us are involved in an effort that has brought together religious leaders across the spectrum, particularly Christians and Jews, who support not only Park 51, but also the larger issues that are at stake here. We think that there is really a war on prayer that is happening in this country, and we believe that we are united by a value that says that in America you can pray where and worship where and when you choose, and so we are supporting that American value, and we know we are friends with Imam Faisal and Daisy Khan. We know them well. We've worked together, and we know that they stand for American ideals of understanding and appreciation, just as we all do, and so that's what's at stake.
September 11th, Families for Peaceful Tomorrow. My views on the issue are that I believe people have their constitutional rights acknowledged, but if they're so interfered with that they can't practice and exercise those rights, then they don't have them. And I think the pressure and intimidation on the Muslim community is reprehensible, and I think all our rights are threatened when any one community's rights are threatened.
I'm Rabbi Arthur Waskow, W-A-S-K-O-W, if you're writing it down, and I'm director of the Shalom Center. And what I think is that in the first shock of this wave of anti-Muslim rage and fear, mostly fear, the response has been, it took a little bit longer because both the Cordoba folks and the rest of us thought it's just normal to say there should be a Muslim cultural center in Lower Manhattan, so there didn't need to be a big thing. But now it's clear there does need to be a big thing. It has become a profound debate. I think it's a lot like what happened in the 30s during the Great Depression. No accident that there's such a high unemployment rate now. That during the 30s, in the midst of the Great Depression, there was a big wave of anti-Semitism in America. Father Coughlin, radio programs, 1 million people were listening. Henry Ford was publishing a newspaper, anti-Semitic. People were desperate. They were out of jobs. They lost their homes. And they wanted to blame somebody. And the folks they didn't know in that generation were American Jews. In this generation, American Jews have become part of the fabric of American society. But American Muslims, many people either don't know them or don't even know they know them, because they are part, but nobody realizes, oh, my next door neighbor is a Muslim. The United States for 9 years now has been carrying on wars against several Muslim countries. And people, the psychologists talk about a phenomenon they call cognitive dissonance. If you're behaving a certain way, you begin to adjust your ideas to fit with what you're doing. Well, I think some Americans think, listen, if my country's at war with a bunch of Muslims, must be something wrong with the Muslims. Otherwise, why would we be at war? So there must be something wrong. And then it's so easy, all Muslims. So it changed when the New York Post and what's his name, the Murdoch, with right-wing politics, he just gave $1 million to the Republican Governors Association. Started talking about the 9/11 mosque, the terror mosque. He started doing that, and then this under-the-surface stuff kind of erupted. And he clearly had a political agenda. And then Gingrich and Sarah Palin have joined in for the political agenda. I think they think that they can split the votes of constituencies in America that vote usually, mostly, heavily progressive. Well, I think they are wrong. I think we're going to prove them wrong, because I think it won't be easy. But we will come through that. Americans will take a deep breath and say, well, what do you know? Islam is also part of the great American fabric with its own wonderful threads in this multicolored fabric. I think that will happen, and we need to do the work to make it happen.